Some runouts are just brutal for the hand. This is the hand. I am in the cutoff. Under the gun opens with sevens. King queen suited, should not call there. So I try to rep overpair here. He folds king queen. He calls with sevens. He can actually put in a raise here because he's ahead. And check, check. And then a king comes. He definitely needs to check here with sevens. And I need to bet. And he has a 70% fold there. So the points here are villain can turn dunk as part of Eevee manipulation because he's ahead, but the runout is still brutal on the king runout. We understand that we want to nurse and manipulate the Eevee and SPR to navigate our path easier. So villain's path may have been easier, I don't know. This is why 7-7 out of position is a bet because it's still ahead. You want to build that pot possibly, but small, quarter or 1/3. We're likely ahead of the Eevee and SPR we want to bend that to our favor. This is a reason to lead. Sometimes we want to, especially if the SPR was smaller, for sure you would want to do that. Right now the SPR is still pretty large, so you might not want to bet lead out the turn. You might just want to go into full bluff catch mode, and if the runout is brutal, and you just fold. So I actually take this back a little bit about Eevee manipulation. It's not the right place to do this. The SPR needs to be smaller in order for this paragraph to be correct. So anyways, king queen. So this is the board. On the flop, check, check, bet. This is very negative Eevee by a large blunder. So it was much more positive Eevee for me to just check behind with the ace. And then the turn, because if I check here, I can still call a quarter bet on the turn if the runout is in my favor. So if I still have overcards, for example. Or if I pick up like a backdoor flush draw. Anyways, big blind, it's on the turn, he can check 56% of the time or bet 44% of the time to lead out for a dunk. So the turn dunk. And if the turn dunk happens, then he gets raised by the cutoff. So in the game, the villain checked. So he did choose to do the 56% thing. He checked. But I think if I were the villain, I would bet out to escalate and walk the path of Eevee and SPR of manipulation. This is not exactly correct. The SPR needs to be smaller in order for this to really work. You can, if the SPR were smaller, 7-7 would just be a all-in type of thing. You almost get that way because you have enough piece of the Eevee there with SPR protection. And so anyways, if villain did bet 34 and got raised to 92 by the cutoff, it is still a call to the raise. And on the river, it will be a 95% fold to a shove and 5% call for 0-0 Eevee on that line. So let me show you that line. Okay, this is that line. Let's say the villain did lead for 34 on the turn here, and then gets raised 13% of the time, gets raised to 92 for a third pot. Then when the king comes out, he definitely needs to check 100% of the time. Anything else will be very negative. and then I need to bluff this king because it's good for my range because I'm 3 better. And 95% fold. But at least it's a clear fold, 95%. Okay, versus going back to the other line, which is he checks the turn, which is fine, and then I check the turn, looking like I just have ace king, and then this great run out for me with the king. So check check on the turn, great run out for the king, he checks. Although this guy could go all in. Interesting. He could bet a quarter and protect his Eevee. That's another line. This is actually another line where he leads the river on the king. For a quarter. So about $25, $30. But anyways, he checks. But he could lead. This guy could lead. That's another line. He could lead for 18. And he could actually shove for a little bit less Eevee. And I think if he does that, he can, if he does that, he shoves quarter pot. Okay, 1.5 pot is not a shove, but a quarter pot is equal Eevee. So let's say he does that. And he faces it all in. Then he can fold. So clear path for Eevee. So anyways, here he could bet quarter pot, and if he gets raised, then he definitely has a clear fold. So that is part of Eevee manipulation, Eevee messaging, Eevee to tell you you're working with the Eevee. Anyways, in game he chose to check. Hero bets this $58 correctly for 0.46. So that's me. I bet, and he has 70% fold here based on this run out. So he could still call if he wants to bluff catch. But in general, I think in zone you don't have to do that because you don't have to bluff catch and take a stand. Other people can do that for you. Other people can do the calling for you, so you can let other people do that. So if you're actually the guy holding 7-7, you can let somebody else do the 30% of the time to call, because most likely you're behind, or you don't need to find out. You don't need to be calling half a pot with 7-7. So that's what this is. Let's take a back look here. Some runouts are just not favorable to the. Some runouts are just favoring the raiser, the 3 better. So I play like ace king, and the king was a great run out. But even a 10 here still favors me, or 9. Any overcard is bad for this guy. But not that I could have known that in game. But the king was a great card for me to bluff with. So I did. So that's what happened.